This is John, and I'm back out in the shop tonight, and I just thought I would catch you guys up to speed and show you where I'm at. So I needed something to mount the drill to that raised it up high enough so that the bit wouldn't get too close to the rails and still be able to operate properly. So I grabbed a couple of pieces of 3x3 steel tubing, and as you can see, I just welded them together, cut them about 4 inches long and welded them together. That gets me 6 inches up to the bottom of the drill, plus another 1.5 inches to the center line of the arbor on the drill, and I should be good to go. So what I did here, let me see if I can get down here. You see these little things here. These are T-nuts on bolts. I drilled 4 holes in the top here, and then I put a screw through and threaded on a T-nut. Those T-nuts will slide into those grooves, and they'll hold this down. And then on top, on the other side of it, you flip it over, I'll drill a hole back here that will hold a bolt that threads into the threads where the handle gets accepted into the drill. It's just a 1/2-13 bolt that I need to put in there. So that's not the only thing that's going to hold the drill. That would be awfully weak, and the drill would be able to swivel and everything else. I plan on running some bars up the side. I think I caught a lucky break because the width of the drill is 3 inches. So I'll take a couple of steel flat stock pieces and run it up past the drill and then bolt them together at the top so they squeeze onto the drill. So I'll have one bolt that's actually threaded into the drill and then a clamp kind of hold it in place, and that should help with the torque. So like I said, that's where I'm at for tonight, and hopefully tomorrow or the next day, maybe, I don't know, we'll get some more updates rolling, and I'll let you guys see where I'm at. So stay tuned, keep watching. All right, I'm going to start with the heart of our operation, the drill here, which holds our tenoning bit. And like I spoke before, I took those 3x3 tubes, I welded them together. I drilled a hole for a bolt to insert into the threads where the handle on the drill would normally screw in. I've got my 4 bolts down inside in T-nuts into the aluminum extrusion from the 80/20. And I've got a bracket here in the back with a couple of more T-nuts as well. This thing can slide back and forth. I can adjust it for position after I get done, which is just fine. I talked about putting some bar stock up on either side and bolting it across to squeeze the drill down. Great idea, still not quite stiff enough for what I like. So I added this bracket in the back, which goes up. There's a couple of holes in it, and I got a U-clamp to clamp onto that handle. Now the handle swivels 360 degrees, so I just arranged it in the vertical position, put the clamp on there, tighten it down, and then I ran some straps at a diagonal down to my base, and that makes it incredibly solid. I think I'm not going to have to worry about it going anywhere. But as my old boss Mike Cheetah always told me, when in doubt, build it stout. So that's what I did. Moving on to the rest of our operation, which is over here, I've got our linear slides joined together with a couple of 3/4 by 3/4 angle irons. And I had some Thompson slides, linear slides. I'll show you one. This is from an old job I had. It's in pretty rough shape, but those are linear bearings, allowing this rod to slide back and forth very easily. Now, Thompsons have these nice little standoffs, clamps that hold the linear bearings, or hold the shafting that the linear bearings slide on. And so I drilled and tapped my slides, and I put these standoffs in, and they have a clamp, a split clamp that'll clamp down onto the shafting. So what I did to make my hinges is, let me see if I can find it here. My shop is a mess, is the way it should be. I had some round DOM tube, or drawn over mandrel, that fit a 1/2 inch bolt just about perfectly. So what I did is I welded those onto a piece of bar stock, and then I welded my section of Thompson shafting onto the bar stock, and that creates a hinge. I've got a piece of all thread, just like that, that runs all the way through the DOM. I put a nut on either side of the DOM tube, and I welded angle iron to it. That keeps that in position. Then I threaded a nut on till it met up to the other nut, and then I just tack welded it on the bar so it becomes like a big bolt. Then I just put another nut on the backside and tighten it down so that it's not clamping down on anything, it's just holding its position. I did that in front and in back. Now, the next thing I did is I had to have a way to adjust this table up and down. I thought about some sort of screw jack, and I decided it was too much trouble, and I went old school simple. So I welded the end of a bolt on to the Thompson shafting. I know, pretty well job, right? And then I took a 3/4 inch socket. This is a 1/2 inch bolt, and welded it onto a piece of tube I had laying around. So I put that on there, and it's very easy. I'm doing it with one hand, but it's very easy to adjust it up and down to where you want it, and you can get it pretty darn precise. So that's just about the vertical position there. Then, instead of using the tiny little screws, like you can see right there, there's a pretty small hole there. I think they're number 8 screws. I drilled those out. I put a 1/4 20 bolt through. I tacked the head right here on the one side, and then I got a nut. I did that at each end. So now, when you get it set to where you want, you just tighten down on these nuts. It clamps down on the Thompson shafting, and it stays put for well enough for what we're working on. That's about as simple as it gets without being too much trouble. So I had a little bit of work to do, a little bit of engineering, and so far it's worked out okay. My next step in this process, if you look here, I took a piece of that angle iron, I drilled some holes in it, put some T-nuts in there, and all this is in the vertical position there. As you bring the wood into the bit, you can't run the metal into the bit. So again, it's a safety factor issue. I'm going to put another stop back here on the back side that'll stop at 6 inches away. So there'll be a distance of 6 inches of travel. And the reason I chose that, I love working two-handed with a camera, is when I put the tape measure all the way into my deepest throat, I'm 5.5 inches right there. So 6 inches is more than enough travel to get the job done. Bottom out the tenon, and we should be good to go. My next step in this process is to put a lever handle on the back here, and basically I'm going to bolt on something back here that will have an arm on it, and from the arm there will be a linkage that runs down to a bracket right here. So as the handle that comes out here, turns, that arm will move forward, and that linkage will push our whole slide forward until it bottoms out. Next thing I'm going to do is, to the same bracket back here, I'm going to run some heavy-duty extension springs so that if for some odd reason Katie runs into trouble, all she has to do is let go, and the slide will automatically retract back to the rear position, pulling the wood out of the bit, hopefully. We'll see how that goes. But that's our update for tonight. I hope you enjoyed looking at what we've done so far, and I hope you're as excited as I am to see whatever success or even whatever failures that we can overcome in the future. So from rusticpinesmn.com, this is John signing out and saying stay tuned.